At Five Valleys Restoration, your view is our view, and what a beautiful view it is. We are proud to be locally owned, locally operated. We love our community here in Missoula and also the full Five Valleys that we do service. We give back to the community, we service our community, our kids go to school here, we live here, we play here, and we love it here.
We're riding with Rider back for another week here on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series and our Skyline Sports YouTube channel. Mike Rider joining us here. He's back in Billings, so back in his home stomping grounds. You're filling in this week, though. You got you're the former and now current again color commentator for Montana State Radio. So, what's it going to be like being back in the booth?
You know what? Looking forward to it, Colter. But I'm hoping it's like riding a bike. Gosh, to take a full season off. My guess is it'll be a little bit natural, but yeah, I'm excited to get back into Bobcat Stadium and gosh, the Gold Rush game and sellout crowd. It should be a fun environment. I'm excited, and Cats are been looking good so far, and eager to get back up there. It'll be great.
Well, story of the game last week, 31-7 over Utah Tech, was the defense certainly got off the field 3 and out 8 times in a row. That's amazing. I mean, I don't know. I don't really care who you're playing. 8 straight 3 and outs is, I mean, that's pretty good. So, have you ever seen anything like that? Is there any other performances like that you can remember? I'm not saying Utah Tech is some world beater, but still, I mean, you force 8 punts in a row. Doesn't matter who you're playing. That's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, yeah, and as a defense, there's just nothing that feels better than a 3 and out because you handle business, and I don't know that I've seen 8 in a row like that, and like you said, typically something goes wrong, somebody squirms out of the tackle, falls forward for 8 yards, and then all of a sudden they're in a second manageable, and they squander, get their way to 1 first down. You're like, all right, I get it, but 8 straight possessions, no first down. You got to give some credit to the defense. Like you said, not a real juggernaut of an offense, but albeit guys playing their 111th and pretty impressive outing there by the Bobcat D.
It's also funny because Montana State's been so high scoring the last several years. And so I heard from a lot of people, hey, 31 points, what's up with the offense? It's funny because 31 points is like a fair amount,
I
but
know, I
people
know.
are used to Montana State scoring 40, 50, 60. I mean, they scored 63 on Utah Tech last year. How much of that, though, you think was Utah Tech? I mean, they kind of threw the kitchen sink at him. New head coach. He's a defensive guy. I just thought that Montana State maybe just didn't know what Utah Tech was going to bring. I think that was part of why maybe they were kind of up and down on offense.
Yeah, I think you kind of give it a lot of different, uh, give credit to a lot of different things. I think they played well. It looked like they played physical, watching them tackle pretty well. Um, fairly gap sound, played really hard and fast. But they also threw some different things you could tell Montana State wasn't accustomed to. And then, look, being on the road, an 8 p.m. kick, those are really interesting in themselves. No home environment, a team you beat by, whatever, 50 points the year before. I think you factor it all in, and a lot to coach off of. You win 31-7. It's never enough, in games like that. And so, but I think you got to be happy that you get out of there, you get a win, and regroup and get better and ready to go for the home opener.
We talked about this last week, but now you have these 2 road wins banked. In a given year, you're only going to play 5 or 6 road games, and you're 2-0 on the road already before you played a home game. So I just think that helps you so much in terms of like the momentum you can build within a season. Like knowing you've already had success away from your home stadium, and now,
Yeah.
I mean, look at the schedule. They're either at home or on a bye. I think 7 out of the next 9 weeks. Like that's a pretty big advantage for Montana State.
Yeah. And it's usually opposite, Colter. We're always having the conversation about like, okay, you have 2 home openers, right? You go home for some case. Most season it's that way. And then all of a sudden the question begins, okay, they're going on the road. It's the first road game. How are they going to adjust? And a lot of times it can be troublesome, right? Because you've gone from the comforts of your own stadium, and when you're forced to get out of your comfort zone, get to an FBS school. I know not a real hostile environment by any stretch of the imagination in Albuquerque, but still taking the show on the road 2 straight weeks, ironing out some kinks, and then you get to come back home. Yeah, kind of an interesting narrative, and they got to feel good about being at home, like you mentioned, Bayer at home for the next 7 out of 9 weeks, and I think it sets up to their advantage. There's no doubt about it.
There's also the dynamic where when you play at Montana State, then you go on the road and like you always used to say, bring your own energy, right? You got to figure out a way to get up because you're playing in front of 17,000 less fans when you go on the road to some of
Yeah.
these places. Do you feel like the opposite of that could be true? Like last week they played in front of like 4,000. Now it's going to be 21 or whatever thousand Gold Rush people in there. Is that going to like just juice them to the moon on Saturday?
Yeah, that's a good question. I could certainly see that, right? Where you kind of had to bring your own juice, and now some of these guys maybe they haven't played as much. You're always going to have new faces that are there, and so maybe you get some jitters out, and you're a little bit too juiced, and you're getting false start penalties or things like that. That'll be remain to be seen. But I do think a good team that's got a bunch of leaders too, Colter, I think is a big deal, right? These guys have played a lot in Bobcat Stadium. 23 seniors, am I right? Somewhere in there. So just say you would like to think the experience takes over and you don't get too overhyped and juiced, but I guess it will remain to be seen. But I could see that trending that direction. It could certainly happen.
When it comes to the defense specifically, I'm so impressed with because last year was sometimes statistics can be deceiving, even if they are statistics we think are important. Last year, Montana State led the country in sacks. They were also one of the top takeaway teams in the country. Yet they were not very good on. I should say they weren't very good. They were only average on defense. Like they could and should be a lot better. And that's I mean,
Yep.
you're a defensive Bobcat, man. Like the Cats are always good on D. They were just kind of okay last year. Now this year, though, the number one thing they fixed is getting off the field on third downs. How they been able to get off the field on third downs so effectively?
Gosh, it seems to be opportunistic. I like a lot of the play calls. I think it's been a good mixture of pressure and just and base. They seem to be getting into third and manageable. There hasn't been a ton of like third and shorts. I don't feel like, but all that to say, I feel like they've done a good job gang tackling and getting to third down means that you're doing a good job on first and second downs. That sounds like really elementary, but it's very true. Like if you're getting to third downs, that means you're having successful, typically, first and second downs, and they haven't been a lot of third and short. So I think it's play calling, but it's also just doing your 111s. I think the best defenses are always the ones maybe that aren't the one that have the superstars and maybe not the crazy sacks, but your balls or turnovers. Those things are really important. But it's the guys that can just be gap sound, run to the football, and do your job on the critical money downs, third down.
I know you had some crossover with Bobby Daly during your playing days. Are you surprised, or did you know this was coming with him taking over the defense?
You probably have a relationship like this too. Like you look back and you're like, I don't know that when I'm 22 years old, if you ever 20 years old, if you're like, yeah, Bobby Daly, I think I could see him one day being a
Right.
ball coach in a DC. Like I don't know about that. I got lots of friends. I don't know if I could see Clay Bignell being the defensive coordinator of Southern Miss. Like, I don't know if I could have called that. I mean, these guys they love ball and they've always been really sharp. And so I'm not sure if I would call it, but they're fully capable. I mean, Bob was a heck of a football player and really, really smart and comes from a really good pedigree. And so, that he is where he is and he calls a really good game. He's always been a level-headed guy. He always possessed like the right amount of juice, right? Like he's going to get amped, but he always had the ability to be pretty level-headed. And boy, as a defensive coordinator, you got to be that way because you're going to get beat. Nowadays in football, you're going to give up some explosive plays. Offenses have a lot of ways to attack a defense, and you just have got to be pretty level-headed, and I think Bob exemplifies that. And I like his balance between pressure and base, and he's clearly got his unit ready to roll.
No doubt. And both those guys you just named, Bobby and Clay, such great examples of how just if you just grind it out and you love ball, you can get there, right? I mean, both those guys, they've been all over the place. They've had so many jobs, and but they just have kept on going, and now they have these awesome elevated roles as relatively young guys still.
Is a will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
Well, it's just a testament to grinding it out and loving football, right? I mean, like Clay was just willing to move everywhere in the history of the world, and then all of a sudden now he's in DC. So, but I think it is a testament to just loving the game and knowing what you want to do too.
Yeah, and Clay, credit to him. I mean, I follow his career really closely. Again, he's just a football guru. He got us defense, right? So it makes sense. He loves football, but geez, from Montana Western to come into MSU to Northwestern to Notre Dame, to Vanderbilt to ECU. I mean, to Eastern Illinois. I mean, he's been all over the country now at Southern Miss. I mean, I'm excited to see how it shakes out with him getting down there and playing Kentucky. Not an easy first draw there on the road, but always rooting for those guys. Fun to see old teammates be successful.
But last thing about these last couple weeks, I mean, the offensive line thing continues to just blow my mind. Last week Connor Moore goes down, and all of a sudden Burke Mastel has been hurt. Oh, I thought it dropped again, but now. Can you hear me? God damn it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's so weird, man.
It's on my end. Our internet here sucks. I don't know.
I got you.
Okay.
Pivot and do something different.
No, it's on my end. My end sucks.
We're good. As long as it's not me, let's just keep moving. I'm good. I just want to make sure if I need to pivot, I can.
All right. Just the offensive line reshuffle. What have you thought of just their ability to do this?
Yeah. It speaks to Coach Al Johnson. I know we talked to him about it a little bit last week, but I know that they're a little bit banged up. And look, a lot of offensive line coaches don't do this ahead of time, where they don't have the flexibility to move guys around, and inevitably guys get rolled up on. They get beat up throughout the season, and so I think it's going to pay dividends. They looked a little out of sync last week, but all that to say, I think it's going to work out well for them.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
So let's talk just about this upcoming week then. The Cats are 29-point favorites. I mean, Maine's won 4 games in 2 years. They're coming across the country. So I don't know how much Montana State's going to be tested, but where should they be prioritizing making growth or developing depth, or what sort of things should they work on in this game when you are sort of such a decided favorite?
Yeah. I think what you want to see in these games, going back to what you had earlier mentioned about, is there potential to kind of fall into some penalties and things like that, and you get a little bit overhyped. I think as a coaching staff, what you want is a really crisp game. You don't want any stupid penalties. You want to take care of the football. You want to do that in every game. But man, when you get back home and it's an FCS game, a team where a game where you're super highly favored, I think you got to do the basics well. Taking care of the football, have no turnovers, obviously. Try and take the ball away, limit penalties, and just a real clean, crisp game. But I think, like, more specifically, what I still want to see, what we all want to see, I think that the offense needs to continue to build on is the passing game. They've got to find ways to get people involved. We know they can run the football, and that's going to be a bread and butter. But the ability to throw the football still is a little bit out there, and leaves a little bit more to be desired. I also think it's a little bit of a misnomer. No sacks on the defensive side of the ball. No sacks through 2 games. But look, you don't always pressure because you're counting on getting the quarterback, right? I mean, a lot of times it's more of a desired effect to get the ball out faster. Maybe it's actually it's a run blitz, right? I mean, blitzing doesn't always mean you're going to be getting the quarterback to the ground. There could be different desired effects. Bottom line is, I think that they're pressuring the right times and things look right, but at the same time, you want to see the pass rush. You got to be able to get home. I don't know if Maine's going to even give any opportunities, but you want to see the ability to rush the passer, to stop the run on defense, and generate some takeaways, but just handle the elements. You want a good, crisp game across the board, handle the elements, do what you're supposed to do. Don't let a team linger around. They got more talent than Maine does. They got the home field advantage, and you just don't want to see them let a team hang around. And so you want this springboard into the conference season, and this is kind of that next step.
When it comes to the passing game, I think that Tommy Malotte's best stuff in the passing game is going to be out of the RPO, especially if he's moving to his right. They made so much money on that little drag route to Trayton Pickering the last couple of years, or the post corner,
Yep.
And then he also is really good at the back shoulder fade, which they haven't thrown at all this year, which is funny because they threw it ad nauseum last year, to the point where I think people that were watching that Idaho game were like beating their heads against the wall because it was like they couldn't hit one of these back shoulder fades if they were throwing it like every other down. But I don't know if they took that out of the offense. Yeah. And then they also, just the RPO quick slant that Tommy's so good at throwing. They haven't really thrown any of those things. Yep. So do they have to revert back to their old concepts? Are they trying to do too much in the pass game? What's been the thing that's been eluding them in throwing the football?
Man, that is a really good question. You think they would get into some of those more rhythm throws, because that RPO, it's a read throw, but it also, to me, I'm with you, it aligns for Tommy's rhythm, right? I think that's a clean read for him. He's been successful over the middle. I think some of those, even taking the opportunities to get him into empty, get some of those early completions mixed with getting him out of the pocket, mixed with a fade on the back shoulder. We just haven't seen it all like incorporated in one package. You know what I'm saying? We haven't seen. Now, look, I don't want to oversimplify it. Sometimes defenses, what they're going to be doing to you is going to dictate what you're going to do offensively. And so maybe they're waiting for conference to, bust some of the stuff out. I wasn't, a part of any of the practices as far as fall camp's concerned, so I didn't see any of that, Colter. Maybe you saw something different, but I don't know with Tyler Walker. I wish I had a better answer for you. I'm not sure what their thought process is, but I do know this. They will continue to run the football, and that is absolute domino one, and that is the priority. And I think that is remarkable because they still do it at will, seemingly. But they've got to develop as a passer. As an offense, you've got to have the ability to keep people, honest on the defensive side and play to his strength. And Tommy can throw it plenty well, despite what people have said. And so I'm anxious to see how it develops. We haven't seen a lot of it from game 1 to game 2, But that game 2 to game 3 jump, eager to see what that brings on Saturday night.
Well, look forward to seeing you on Saturday there in Bozeman, and best of luck on the call. But thanks so much for doing it with us this week.
Thanks, Colter. Always a pleasure, man.